I told you a little bit about what I'm doing. The project, this book is, and blog, comes from the center of the political spectrum, but I think that it's really important to hear what our neighbors have to say who are not necessarily from the center, who have different points of view, both from the left and the right. And I think that it was very startling to see all the support that Trump got in the 2016 election, and to understand what our neighbors were thinking, but also people who oppose him, what they're thinking, and to let everybody know. So that's really the point of this, is to kind of question folks, kind of understand where they're coming from. And so I don't really know, based on some conversation we had just before we were going to start here, what your political point of view is. But before that, let's just get started with who you are. Who are you? Where'd you grow up?
I'm Mark Schutze. I grew up south of Baroda, by the wineries. Been a farmer, entrepreneur most of my life. That's that. Got I was married twice. Had 3 kids from the first marriage, and a son with the second marriage and 2 stepdaughters. Okay. My wife's name is Jill. We run Nimby Pond, snowmobile race in the summer, sort of entrepreneurial. And we dabble in antiques and farm equipment and everything else.
Is that basically that Nimby Pond? Is that twice a year?
Twice a year.
Summer?
In the summer, July and August.
July and August,
Yeah.
And I remember there was quite a bit of opposition to starting it, but so if you could
it
explain
wasn't
what
as bad as the neighbors thought it was.
Right.
It didn't turn into Woodstock. Everybody's fairly well behaved.
Oh, good.
It's a little noisy, but not bad.
Okay.
We have that documented.
Okay.
A decimal reader came out with a county, and they took decimal readings, and at the neighbor's doorstep it was 65 or 70, so that's normal.
Great. Yeah, good.
It all worked out.
Good.
Dare to be different. So.
You grew up here. You don't mind my asking when were you born? And
1960.
Oh, you're really a young man. I'm sorry. I mean,
some days.
Yeah.
Some days.
I've got you by 5 years. Did you go to school here?
River Valley. River Valley, New Troy, and then River Valley.
Yep.
Back when New Troy had a school.
Yep.
Everything got consolidated.
Yep.
So that's just the way the world works nowadays.
And basically you went to school, and then what'd you do?
I went right into farming with my parents.
Okay.
We had a dairy farm, we had grapes. In 95 I sold off the dairy cattle, and we switched to vegetables and hay, and do a little antiquing and whatever it takes to make a buck.
Right, yeah. And I know you do excavating and...
Whatever it takes.
Tell us a little bit at a broad, level, what your political thoughts are and where you feel like you come from on the spectrum.
Oh, my dad was a pretty staunch Republican. I vote for the person, not the party. Yep. And I'm pretty conservative, but I always try to listen to the other side just to see where they're coming from. You never know. They might be right.
Okay. You sound like your views are set in stone. You're willing to listen, things like that. Yeah, that's good. Who, if you don't mind me asking, did you vote for Trump? I think you did.
I voted for Trump. I was thinking of the millions of people in this country, we should have had better candidates. I'm not really, he just acted like I don't know, not a bully, but, he's boisterous. And maybe that's what we need. I just didn't trust Hillary. She's been in politics too long. The good thing I could say about Trump was he's a businessman. And he's fairly shrewd, I believe. So maybe that's what this country needs. I think there should be term limits on all of them. They shouldn't be a career, 30, 40 years. This is ridiculous.
So one of the things that I hear a lot from folks is if you've been in politics, you shouldn't be served, you know, and you've in the last 15, 20 years that we need to get rid of you and go to new people. But I just question and I wonder whether that thought, you know, hey, we need to replace the people who are there as part of the problem. You know, the idea that anyone who's from Washington is bad automatically. Why not? I mean, would you go to a doctor who's just started practicing? Would you go to,
Sure.
you know, I mean, would you go, don't you want to see experienced people who have been around the block with the legislative process?
Well, experience is good and bad.
Yeah.
They learn how to line their pockets. And I think that, you know, I'm not saying they're all bad.
Okay.
But
Because I've heard a lot from a lot of people, they're all bad. You know, if you're in politics, you're all bad.
I believe there's some good ones. But it seems like they follow the crowd, or they go along party lines. They should vote with their heart.
And that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Vote your conscience, you know, on each issue, look at it objectively and
Right.
Yeah.
You know, there's too much what they used to call it pork barreling. Well, I'll vote for you if you give Broda a paved road, or a bridge, or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, and I can see how it's done and why it's done, but it shouldn't be. It should be the issue up, not what you can do for me.
Yeah. So as you look at our government, what are some of your hot buttons that, let's say as you looked at Obama, what were some of your hot buttons that really disturbed you?
Oh, you know, he was a very good speaker. I think he stirred up the race a bit, because I think we were all sort of getting along.
Right.
More so before Obama than after him.
Okay.
I mean, I judge the person by the person, not by the color of their skin. You're nice to me, I'm nice to you.
Yeah.
And that's, I think he stirred that up too much.
Keep going.
And he just didn't seem to be even-handed.
Okay.
He wanted to go down as the first black president that really did something.
Okay.
And, well, he did in that aspect. And I think I'm not really into politics. I don't live for it.
No, that's okay.
But
I take it that people around you are more upset.
Oh, I get influenced all the time by people.
Yes.
Listen to them spout. But they gotta say what they gotta say.
Right. Taking it that you have sort of mixed feelings about Obama and what he did.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
I was hoping he would have done more for the people. It seemed like they gave away a lot to foreign countries.
Okay.
And part of why I voted for Trump was he said, let's make America great again.
Okay.
You know, let's keep it all here.
Yeah. So, you know, it's really valuable to hear what you're thinking, because it's important for everyone to understand why someone like you, who could have voted differently, you know, had the right candidate been there, ended up voting for Trump, and why you're attracted to Make America Great Again. What else about Make America Great Again attracted you?
Well, let's get the jobs back here.
Okay.
Let's keep the jobs here. I mean, I know the Chinese need to make products for America so they can employ their people, because we're probably the largest consumer. And I understand that. I don't want to go to war with everybody, but we have the people here that need jobs.
Yeah.
And it seems like our cost of living has just gone out of hand. It's not balanced. You know, a starting job is $10 an hour for a lot of places at the moment, and you can't live on that. You just can't. It doesn't work. You know.
So how do you think Trump is going to change that?
I think he's bringing jobs back.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm reading.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So I believe, the jobs are here and they're decent paying jobs, 15, 20 bucks an hour. You can sort of live on that.
Mm-hmm.
But our whole lifestyle has changed. Everybody's got a cell phone. You see 10-year-old kids with a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, you had a phone on the kitchen wall.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has just really changed in life from what it once was.
Well, our president loves a cell phone.
Oh, he does. And I love mine too. It saves me a lot of time. Don't get me wrong, but it's just lifestyle changes.
So, I'm just interested in that comment because I think, in part it says, maybe part of what we want to do is go back to a set of values that we had before, and that's part of what is attracting you is, do you sort of look back at things with, some nostalgia about, hey, how things were when you were growing up and it's so much different,
You worked, you was able to make a living, food prices weren't that high, drug prices weren't that high.
Right.
Your doctor visits weren't, it's a great thing that we're really working with cancer and the things they can do nowadays. If you have a heart attack, they can bring you back from the dead. Where 30 years ago, if you had a heart attack, it was nice knowing you.
Right. No, that's true.
Yeah.
Even Eisenhower, when he had a heart, if he were alive, if he were president today, he would have had the best care. Wouldn't have made a difference, but it actually did make a difference. When he was president.
We've advanced technologically.
Yeah.
A long ways.
Right.
But
how about Obamacare? What did you think about Obamacare?
It was a good thought, but the rules were too much. I think the drug companies made a fortune off it.
Yeah.
And the doctors, they're just paying the insurance so they can try to help people. The insurance is going through the roof. So it's part of making a living.
Right. So when you look at that though, and I know folks from the right would say it's because of Obamacare, it's because now it's government health care. In fact, it's still a private system run by insurance. Isn't the only answer, and I'm playing devil's advocate when you're in these interviews, isn't the only answer a single payer system? How are you going to get costs under control? Because that's what I've heard you say is costs are out of control for healthcare, and they are.
Yeah.
We pay twice as much per capita as any other country in the world, for the same healthcare.
Right.
And actually with worse outcomes.
Right.
There are other countries that are healthier than we are.
Oh,
People live longer. They do
look at our diet.
Yeah, exactly.
My daughter used to work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And she said, Dad, people are there 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes.
You go to Myers and look at the shopping carts. Here's these people in the handicapped shopping carts.
Yeah.
And they got cases of pop, chips, everything that's not good for you.
Yeah.
You're your own, you got to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Limit, what's the word I'm looking for? Small amounts don't really hurt you, but if you're smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, drinking a case of beer, pop, none of that stuff's good for you. You got to take care of yourself.
Yeah. So, on the healthcare with Obamacare or with healthcare in general, so going back to, playing devil's advocate, and I'm not sure this can work in the U.S., but other countries have used single payer systems to get their costs down because it seems to be the only way to do it. On drug costs, I'm going to say something anti-Republican here, which is that the Republicans are the ones who have supported the drug companies being able to basically charge much more than they would if we were allowed to, for example, buy drugs overseas for our healthcare plans. We can't do it.
Right, I know. A friend of mine's mom was getting drugs out of Canada, and the FBI wrote her a letter, said you can't do this no more.
No, you can't. It's illegal.
Yeah,
And so it's really, you know,
that bothers me.
yeah, it's the right side of the spectrum that has prevented those companies from competing directly in the marketplace.
Right. Well, if it's going to be a global
competing directly,
community,
and they are global, and you know that they sell to other countries, and when they do, they don't charge the same as they do here. Those other countries, you know, force them to lower their prices. So what are we doing? We're essentially paying twice. We're paying for their R&D because they're sheltered here.
Right.
They make their profits here for their R&D.
right?
They sell it abroad for less.
Lot less.
So, I mean, it sounds to me like a program where the drug companies had to, you know, compete directly might be something you would support.
Who voted it in? The congressmen that were there more than 8 years?
It goes back to Bush, you know, where
Yeah,
he,
I believe that.
where he, the second Bush, the young Bush, where he,
Young Bush.
right, that one, where he basically, when he supported, or rather started to pay for drugs through Medicare and Medicaid, you know, that he established the drug program.
Right.
It's part of those. He specifically did not allow the drug companies to compete with, you know, people were not allowed to buy their drugs from abroad. So that is the origin, and that is part of where it came from. And that's in part.
That was a starting point.
Yeah, that was the starting point. So I mean, you know, I just wonder, you know, it seems like there's a mixture of issues that people get excited about, and there isn't always a clear.
There's not a clear path or a clear answer.
Clear answer, or you know, not always an understanding of, you know, where that rule came from, and you know, I guess what I'm saying is, I'm hearing you come across as almost someone who really thinks for himself,
Trying to.
who, if the right candidate came along, who dealt with these issues that you're talking about, you know.
Yeah, I could be
you're
persuaded
saying-
to take their vote.
Yeah.
I think Nixon, I was young when Nixon was
Yes.
president,
Yes.
but I remember we had a gas shortage and he put a freeze on a lot of stuff,
Right.
price-wise.
Yes.
And-
He did the
and
price freeze. Yes.
Why can't we do that now is,
Yeah. Well, one thing is economists would say that price freezes they go against the market, and then they distort the market, and in the end they always don't work. Like Venezuela has tried price
give
freezes.
us time to think maybe. I don't know the answer.
But I understand what you're thinking about is these, how about just make them compete, you know, like
Yeah.
everybody else?
Yeah.
Make them compete.
Yeah.
So drugs can come in from, you know, abroad.
Right,
We
sure.
have maybe some regulations about, you know, making sure that they're not fake, you know.
Right. If they
you
are
know,
what
but-
they are.
But, you know, there's some competition with drugs. But I would say, just for awareness, you know, that is not a Republican position. You know, so it has not been a Republican position. They've been pro-business, pro-pharmaceutical
Well,
companies.
What I read on Facebook,
Yeah.
the congressmen and that make 250,000 a year or
Right,
whatever, but they have millions in their account.
Yeah.
So where's all this money coming?
Yeah. Okay, so does that lead you towards Democrats, Republicans, or is that
I
totally
think they're all
nonpartisan?
guilty.
They're all guilty. Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Obama for a little bit and the.
Sure.
Let's go back. Let's talk a little bit about Donald Trump. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know, one thing that disturbs many people, I'll be, in the interest of full disclosure, disturbs me, is that he lies a lot. And you know, some people say, oh, he doesn't really mean it when he lies. But I just want to get your take on it. And does it disturb you? I mean, is he unpresidential in some ways, or?
I think he's not a conventional president. He was never in politics to my knowledge.
Right.
I think he's a businessman. He's just playing games.
Okay.
Is my thought. Let's get the news media to look at this, and bam, over here we did something else.
Yeah.
I think all politicians are like that.
Well, but he goes to an extreme, right? I mean, he's different from people. Presidents before had some. At least they made an attempt to try and be truthful. I would say, I'll give you some examples. It may seem like small things, but he said that the size of his inaugural crowd was larger than any inaugural crowd, and people have done analyses and it wasn't. Obama's inaugural crowd was larger. And Trump said that the press was lying about it. And don't you see that, doesn't it seem to you that there's some damage that's being done when he does that all the time? I mean, it leads to an environment where facts just don't matter.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah.
All of them, facts don't matter.
But is it all of them? Or, is he going to an extreme where it's become a little bit worse?
More commonplace.
More commonplace, but also a problem because, because facts don't matter with him, and he says everything the press says is fake news, there might be a danger to the freedom of the press in the long run.
Well, I think we need the freedom of the press.
Yeah.
And Trump, what's the word I want to say here? His thoughts of himself are so high, he's opinionated of himself.
Inflated ego?
Yeah, inflated ego.
Yeah.
And that's how he is.
Okay. But I mean, it's just
To such an extreme. In
That's
the end, I mean, does it not bother you? I'm just curious, personally, does it not bother you? I take it doesn't.
Oh, I always take a grain of salt.
Okay, all right.
You know.
A grain of salt.
Whatever. Yeah, they gotta be the best. They're the biggest, and.
Okay, but you're sort of saying he's like everyone else, but does he not do it to an
He's a
extreme?
little over the rest, I think.
Yeah. Some of us think he's over the top with all this.
Oh, yeah.
And that there's some damage there that's being done, because he's so, he's so in love with himself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it won't admit.
Well, they all are.
Okay.
Obama was in love with himself. Look at me.
Okay. Okay.
But he wasn't as bad as Trump's. I don't know his strategy. Whether he's trying to just bamboozle everybody.
Okay. Right.
That's
right.
But I think he's trying. He's trying to do business for America.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about business for America. Let's talk about the healthcare changes that he was trying to make. He came in, his election promise was, I'm going to give you a beautiful plan, a better plan than Obamacare. In the end, the Republicans simply tried to repeal it and replace it with a plan that would have thrown many millions of people off of healthcare and would not have been better. I think the public didn't think it was better. I'm just wondering, what do you think?
What was wrong with the program we had before Obamacare?
Well, if you don't mind, let me ask, how did you get your insurance prior to? I know you've been on your own, so how did you get your insurance?
We've always had self.
You go through the individual market.
Individual market.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you feel it got worse after Obamacare, or?
No, price went way up.
Price went up.
Yeah, it used to be $300-400 a month, and now it's $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Less coverage.
less coverage. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That's, yeah. But before you would see, before Obamacare, it seemed like you went to the hospital, they took care of you,
Mm-hmm.
and either the hospital ate the bill, the state, or somebody ate the bill, and you paid what you could.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the vision. I never had any major health issues.
Okay. Oh, so you have really not been to the hospital yourself?
No,
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
no.
But, so you were happy with the coverage before, but not after Obamacare?
Yeah, well, they're taking more money every month,
Uh-huh.
and, you know, I mean, where's it going?
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's important that people understand your perception of it. Whether, and you know, I don't know quite how to say it without being frank, whether it accords with the facts or not, you know, of what
Well,
everybody's
it's
seeing.
my personal,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Whether
my personal.
your personal experience is what
Out of my
everyone else
box.
is seeing, you know, is a question.
I've talked to people that love it,
Right.
and they've been through the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the medical community, and I've talked to people that just hate it.
Yeah.
So it's probably 50-50.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you thought the rules were just too onerous and too much bureaucracy and stuff.
Yeah, too much bureaucracy.
Okay.
Can't we just keep things simple?
Yeah. What about coverage for everyone who was added? I mean, there were 30 million or so people who were able to get healthcare coverage who weren't able to get it before Obamacare. And you know what? One thing that Obamacare did, and let's find out if you agree with this. It said that it would be illegal for insurance companies to cut people off who had pre-existing conditions. That was a big piece of Obamacare.
That was the big,
And in fact, that's why the individual mandate was put into Obamacare, because you needed a healthy people in the pool
right,
to deal with all those people you added
Oh,
who were thrown out of the market
Right.
because they had pre-existing conditions.
right.
You think it's fair that those people were thrown out of the market? How would we, if before Obamacare, how would we do it otherwise?
You got a good point.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No.
And ask Mark Schutze to solve our
No.
healthcare problem, but you know, that is a piece of why Obamacare was put on the put out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that one,
Well,
but
then
it's
that's
not
fair.
fair to them. But even in the old school insurance market, there was you had to have so many healthy ones to take care of the sick.
Right. But in fact, in the old market, what would happen is the people who were sick would be thrown out of the insurance market.
Yeah.
They couldn't get insurance.
At some point.
Yeah. Well, if they were sick enough, they were thrown out.
Right.
You
You
know,
had $1 million coverage, and once you're done with that, now you're on.
Well, but even beyond lifetime coverage, they were thrown out if they had a condition. And then they could not get in a policy if they had.
Nobody would take them.
Nobody would take it.
Nobody would take them.
Nobody would take it.
Yeah.
And you can understand why. I mean, insurance companies are out to make money.
Sure.
But that was a law that they could be thrown out, you know.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it seems a bit unfair. If you've been paying insurance for 10
Well-
years, you get sick, you get cancer, and then they stop covering you. Well, what's the point, you know?
Some of it's our lifestyles, like I said before.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
think people got
obviously.
cancer and they were thrown out, and it
Right.
had nothing to do with their lifestyle.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And even if it was your lifestyle, if you've paid insurance for 10 years, you know, is it fair that on the 11th year you get cancer and then you're thrown out?
Out the door
after
you
your
go.
policy is done?
Nice knowing you.
Nice knowing you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Not
I just put
bad.
that out there. I think the Democrats and the people who supported Obamacare did a poor job of selling it and of explaining why it was needed and what it did. On the other hand, it's also very bureaucratic. Some people say the only way to solve the healthcare issue is through a single payer system, because it's the only way to deal with the supply side and the demand side. You know, it's the supply side, all the hospitals consolidating, all the doctors consolidating, all becoming one unit that's helping to keep the price high, twice as much as more than twice as much. We pay twice as much per capita for the same health care as any other country, industrialized countries,
Right.
with worse outcomes. And that was before Obamacare. That has nothing to do with Obamacare. That was the way it was. Always high health care. But anyway, and I don't have the solution either. I mean, outside
I wish
of-
there was.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the single payer system is a solution. But I think there are a lot of people, maybe in our country, it couldn't work, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a lot of flaws in all the systems. You take
there are a lot of flaws.
you take what's good for the majority,
Yeah,
and that's all you can do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned putting America first. Let's just talk a little bit about the tax cut that just occurred. So that tax cut that just occurred, the vast majority of the benefits will either go to business, and we reduce the rate to what is competitive across the world. So that's good, although the effective tax rate even before the cut was below 20%. A lot of businesses didn't pay taxes, but
Right.
but now it's 20% at a ceiling. But on the individual side, almost all of the benefit went to the people in the top 1%. Someone like Trump will get tens of thousands of dollars worth of reduction. Someone like Mark Schutze, and I don't know what you're going to get, might get 1,000, might get 500. For people in states like California, will turn out worse.
Right.
Is that fair? Is that the right way to go? And it'll increase our deficit by 1.5 trillion, are the projections, even with some additional growth. So why are we doing this?
You gotta hope that they're the trickle down system, whether it works or not, I don't know if it does.
So, yeah,
You know,
so it's gonna be, you've heard of trickle down, right?
It's a trickle down. Dave Stockman got in trouble for that with Reagan.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that was 30 years ago.
You know, Dave Stockman was from here.
Yeah, Scottsdale Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're just grasping at straws.
Uh-huh.
You know, the government needs so much money to operate, and they're going to get it from you somewhere or another.
So we just reduced the amount of money that the government's going to get from business and from individuals. Why?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, all right, that's fair.
They're going to line their pockets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we do hear anecdotes about companies taking a little bit of that money and giving it to some of their workers and et cetera, et cetera. But in the long run, and overall,
Will
the
it
benefit
work?
goes to business and the benefit goes to upper class people.
Sure.
I know we're not just talking about people who make, a good salary. We're talking
The
about
multi.
we're talking about people who make, the 1%, $300,000, $400,000 a year.
Right.
Those are the people who are going to benefit the most. So,
Sure.
question is that the right way to go? I asked Frank Small. I don't want to, take words out of his mouth, but what I believe he said is, and eventually you'll be able to look at his interview. He said, well, trickle down does work. All we need is 0.4% additional growth, and it'll pay for itself. But my question would still be, pay for itself, but why not then use that to help reduce our deficit a little bit? I mean, I'm a bit of a fiscal hawk.
Right.
I like to lower our deficit. So I don't know. Just wanted your thoughts about that.
Wow. It goes back to the trickle down. Hopefully they'll employ more Americans, good
Okay.
paying jobs,
Okay.
or just medium paying jobs.
Right.
Because there's so many out there working Myers, McDonald's. Not that they're bad jobs. You gotta start somewhere. That's just, and you'll work your way up the ladder. Your lifestyle will increase somehow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta hope it works that way.
Okay.
I think they're just swinging. They're hoping something happens.
So it doesn't disturb you, the tax cut, even though the impact is based on trickle down. It doesn't bother you? I mean,
Well,
again, why do it? If it's just based on trickle down, why?
change. They had to change something.
Okay.
Is my answer.
Okay.
They thought they had to change something.
Okay.
It's sort of like Obamacare. They were going to change it. They were
Okay.
going to eliminate it,
Okay.
repeal it. It didn't
Right.
happen.
Right.
You know.
So you see it as sort of a little bit political.
We gotta do something.
We got to do something.
We gotta do something.
Okay.
Right or wrong, we gotta do something.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, but
That's
some of
just
us.
politics.
That's politics.
That's
But
it.
I think some of us look at it and say, you know, let's not just do something. Let's do the right thing.
Well, what's the right thing? What is the right thing?
I'll tell you what I think the right thing is. It
Go
would be to, I do agree with reducing business taxes, that part of it.
Yeah.
I think on the individual side, when you look at the challenges the country has going forward, there is going to be an increase in our debt and our deficit, and we need to deal with it over the long term. So
Right.
I advocate policies where the rich pay a little bit more. You can't soak the rich because that's not going to solve the problem.
No, they'll call on
But
their.
everyone may need to pay a little bit more, and then we need to deal with the programs that are involved that are going to bankrupt us in the long run. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, you got to deal with.
Social
Yeah,
Security, you pay in Social Security, right?
No, yes, absolutely. But
That money should be untouchable.
it should be.
Should be.
But-
It's not,
Our government has not made it untouchable.
because we have politicians,
Agreed, agreed.
you know.
So I'm hearing from you, you know, just a fair amount of distrust of politicians and how they've spent our money and what they're doing with our money. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Never
And
trust any of them.
never trust any of them. And what about Trump? Do you trust him?
I trust him as much as you have to.
Okay.
You know, I think the news media and everybody's just throwing stuff up, and he's just making up answers to send them off over there. You know, whether it's a true story or whatnot. Look at that rat. You know,
Right.
you know, he's being a politician, no different than any of the others. You know, and I hope he's enough businessman that he'll pull the country together and we'll all benefit somehow.
Right. So let's talk about pulling the country together. He's about as divisive as you could possibly get. I mean, you know, I know that, you know, you guys voted for him, so, you know, you may be okay with sort of how he talks about anyone who doesn't support him. You know, he's kind of,
Well, you got the true Trumpers, or you got the why would you vote for him people,
yeah,
the other end of the scale.
yeah,
And I wonder if the news media doesn't just focus on those two and not the real medium, the Senate. When I was in high school, my social studies teacher told me most people are in the Senate.
yeah,
You know, you can't be one extreme or the other.
right,
Otherwise, all you have is chaos.
yeah.
You know.
But Trump is not in the Senate.
No, he's more to the right.
Yeah.
He's more to.
So if the centrist candidate came along, would they have some appeal to you?
Yeah, they would.
Okay.
Something more in the Senate. I mean, the poor people need to be fed,
Mm-hmm.
and the rich people need the luxury of, all right, we worked hard for our money.
Right.
We should, you know, get to do with it as we want.
Right.
So
Yeah. Okay.
that's, yeah.
So those concepts of fairness appeal to you, you know?
Yeah.
You know, some safety net for the poor,
Yeah.
but don't give the money away. Do you think that too much money has been given away to the poor?
To the wrong poor.
To the wrong poor?
The wrong.
Okay.
I mean, if you're having a hard time, your family's had issues,
Yeah.
you know, that's one thing.
Right.
But generations
Yeah.
on the welfare system
Right. Right.
is not right.
Okay.
It's sort of like politicians. It shouldn't be a job.
So generations on welfare, follow me again. So
Right.
generations on welfare is something that disturbs you.
Yeah.
Right.
Get a job, whether it's at a gas station or picking fruit or, you know, I mean, if you're sick, it's one thing.
Right.
you know.
Uh-huh.
I sort of agree with the drug testing laws
Yeah.
for welfare,
Yeah.
you know.
Uh-huh.
And I believe that's right. It probably costs us money to do it,
Yeah.
but I think you should be able to prove yourself that you really need it,
Right. Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my views on that.
Let's talk about foreign policy for a minute.
Huh?
So, Obama's foreign policy, Bush's foreign policy. What are your thoughts?
Why are we paying countries that hate us money? Not
So,
all of
so this was one thing I mentioned to Jill when she came up the driveway that day, and I saw your Trump sticker. You know, and she mentioned that. Why are we paying these foreign countries all that money?
them. Right.
And we talked about how much money that is. And I pointed out to her that it's actually not that much of our national budget. It's less than 1% of our budget goes to foreign aid. That is
Okay, I didn't know that.
yeah, so that's it.
That's still
So
not
and
much.
but it's used for diplomatic, reasons. We pay countries money because we want them to support our policies. We don't do it for charity. So, I mean, would you rather see a war or would you rather see a little bit of money thrown around in order to, in order to help our foreign policy?
We're at war with a lot of these countries anyways.
Like who?
We've been in more wars than any country around.
Right, but who when you talk about, not paying the money out, who are we talking about?
Well, I hear stories of giving billions to Iraq or billions to North Korea and giving them nuclear.
Well, we don't give money to North Korea. We have sanctions on North Korea.
Well, now we do.
But
I thought we gave money to them.
I don't think we gave money to them. And if we did, it was at the point where we were reaching an agreement with them.
Well, I know they're a poor country. I mean, the peasants are starving.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, what you read.
Right.
So
It's a very poor country.
very poor. North, cold, nothing grows.
Yeah. Well, but they've wrecked their own economy. The crazy people who run it,
It's all about.
are corrupt and
Right.
they've done a bad job with their own economy. But
Right.
we don't. I don't believe that we give them any money, North Korea.
I thought we used to, not too long ago.
Even if we gave them a little bit of money to support the nuclear program, the cessation of nuclear,
Right.
that was in support of a foreign policy. We weren't doing it for charity.
Right.
We've never given money to North Korea for charity. I mean, we fought a war with them. We're still in it.
We're still at war
We're
with them.
still at war with them. So
Right.
I don't believe.
Well,
that
how
we-
about Haiti? A week or two ago, I heard they found this warehouse full of all this electronic stuff that they needed to get their hurricane-ravaged island back on.
Yeah, but I'm going to suggest that we're talking about hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions, and not billions. In which case,
I don't know the figures.
yeah, I mean, in which case, it's an anecdote. I mean, people often put out these cases that occur,
Yeah,
and they don't really represent, the majority or the statistical reality. You understand what I mean?
well, right.
So, just in terms of foreign aid, there isn't a lot of foreign aid. There isn't a tremendous amount of foreign aid that we give out. Not a big
I'm
tool.
not sure. I just,
Yeah. Not a big
I
tool in
don't-
our arsenal. It's less than 1%.
I don't hawk on the news that much. I like
Yeah.
watching the weather,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. But so let's take Iraq. The Iraq War.
We've fought the Middle East for years.
Yeah.
This last episode, we've been at it 16 years? Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, and
Should we just withdraw from Iraq?
why are we there?
So
Is it oil?
why are we there?
Are we an oil company with an army?
Because we want to have influence in the Middle East and not have failed states. So, that's one reason to be there. We can't just leave the Middle East. Do you think we can just leave the Middle East?
No.
And
Well-
leave it to it completely and not influence it at all. I agree with you, it's a mess. You can look back at why it's a mess. You can say it's a mess in part because we took away Iraq, and now Iran is running wild in the Middle East, and now we have these Shiite Sunni wars going on all over the Middle East, even in southern Africa.
The tribes have been at warfare over there for,
But can
thousands
we
of
just
years.
leave the Middle East?
I don't know, Ken.
There's still oil there. Do you think the Kuwait oil?
We have oil elsewhere we can get?
Yeah, but if we let it get in the wrong hands, it could disturb world markets. You stop that flow of oil from Saudi Arabia, it'll affect oil prices. Do you want to pay more for a gallon of gasoline?
Well, we're paying it in taxes.
No. But do you want to pay more?
No,
for a gallon?
I don't want to pay
Okay.
more than we need.
Well, okay. I mean,
How's the price of fuel in Europe compared to us? I know at one time
they
it was,
pay the same raw prices. They tax it more heavily. But
Okay.
I think the question is the supply of oil in the world. Don't we want to have some influence? That's one reason to be in the Middle East. Don't we want to have some influence over what's in the Middle East? The other reason is, do we want terrorist groups to go wild in the Middle East?
they're already wild in the Middle
No,
East.
but they can
go
get
worse.
worse. It can get worse. They
How
can
about-
take over entire countries. You
Well,
know,
they have ISIS. Yeah, they,
but ISIS is is being contained.
right,
That's one reason why we're there. We're containing ISIS. That's part of it.
right.
They have an avowed goal of terrorism in the U.S. But I certainly understand why you'd say maybe it's not our focus anymore. But and maybe we go more towards the Chinese and Far East as a focus. But do you really think we can become isolationists? That's what I really hear you say. And do you think?
In theory, it would be nice.
Yeah. And so, what do you think about Trump making all this noise about North Korea then?
I haven't heard nothing here lately.
Okay.
Him and their leaders, they just bantering back and forth, and they were saber rattling. And,
But it's more than saber rattling.
well, they're at the edge, I think. But now the Olympics are coming up in South Korea, and then North Korea wants to be all good and friends, and what I see on the news media.
Now they're a nuclear country. They're hard to deal with.
Right.
No question about it.
Right.
Some people would say that Trump's noise is either good or bad. It's focused China's attention on, cutting off the flow of goods to North Korea in a way that.
Are they going?
But
Will the
it's
Chinese?
not going to stop North Korea. I mean, we all know that North Korea just keeps going with that nuclear stuff no matter what we do.
Right. They got the toy now.
There's really no good answer there.
Right. I wish there was.
But we can't just simply let them do whatever they want to do.
No.
I think we can do that.
No, we can't do that with North Korea.
Okay, so
With the unstable, but there's a lot of unstable countries.
do
in the
you
world.
think in terms of isolationism we should let Russia take back Eastern Europe?
Oh, God, no.
Okay, well,
But we're there.
okay, and so do you believe in the NATO alliance? Because it seems like Trump doesn't, believe totally in the NATO alliance.
I don't totally believe in it. Seems like America's paying a heavy debt, while some of the other countries are skipping free.
True, but to fray the alliance when we need some help in the long run in a situation, we won't have the help we need.
How have they helped us?
How they helped us? They helped us in the
We've helped them.
the first Gulf War, which was conducted, in the way we should have conducted it, Afghanistan,
Right.
by committing troops, by supporting us in world forums, and providing a united front. That was a big help.
What percentage of troops did they supply?
I don't know the percentage of troops,
I don't think it was that much.
but if you're saying we can go it alone, I don't think going it alone is a wise policy. I mean, if we want the world order to exist in a way that supports free trade, supports rights the way we'd like them supported,
Right.
if we don't act in a way to maintain those alliances, we will lose that leverage. It won't happen in the long run. Rules will be created that shut out American goods. There's a whole world order around the structure of trade that
Right.
we want to maintain. You know, and if we let it fray, it will deteriorate our ability to
So
interact with the rest of the world in a way that benefits everybody.
is Trump just using that as a puppet?
Well,
He's a pretty smart guy.
I think he is.
Okay, I think if we wave this over here that we're not gonna help you guys no more, how are they responding? Oh,
Not well. I mean, they're not going to pay more. They're not going to support us, and I don't think they're responding well. I think this sort of diplomacy where you basically say take it or leave it, people say we'll leave it because the U.S. doesn't have the leverage it had, 20 years ago. We do not have the same leverage in the world, but we are still the most important player.
Oh yeah.
We definitely influence the world, and we can play a large role. What about withdrawing from TPP, the trade agreement in Asia? What do you think about that?
Oh, I think we do need trade with all the countries.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, how did I say it once? I said, I think I could go to another country,
Yes.
and if we won't have the government, their side, our side,
Yeah.
and me and you're a native from
Right.
wherever, if we sat down and we had a cup of coffee, we could probably get along.
Yeah.
But being there's so much political bannering, we can't. We're trained to hate you or you're trained to hate us.
Right. But when we talk about world trade, there's a set of agreements that are out there that govern world trade. They've worked well for the last 50, 70 years.
Right.
Not 100% well. China has, stolen intellectual property, etc.
Right.
But overall, it's worked well for the U.S. Trump is tearing a lot of that down. He's threatening it. And
Threatening it.
NAFTA.
Well,
TPP, he rejected TPP. It would have been an agreement that united all the countries in Asia except for China. We were creating a set of rules that applied to the countries of Asia. It would have fostered more trade. Probably would have led to some manufacturing jobs being hurt, but overall, a lot of that has occurred through automation over time.
right.
But in the end, it would have led to increases in GDP, and growth for all
Right.
countries. So he just threw it out. He didn't say let's renegotiate it. So now what's happening in Asia? They are negotiating a new TPP with China
Right.
included, and the U.S. is not included. Is that good?
Is China that bad? China needs us.
No.
And we sort of need
But is
China.
it good to have a trade agreement among all the Asian
That
countries
we're
with
not-
China
we're not
that we're
involved.
not even a part of? And we're talking about Australia, England, and European countries are part of it. Is it good that we're not a part of it? Is that a good thing?
Let's see how far it goes through. Let's see how far it goes through.
It's going to go through.
It's going to go through?
It's going to happen. These countries want to become part of the free trading order that we helped create, that we created.
Right.
But we don't want to be a part of that free trading order now, or we're being excluded because we're not playing at the table.
We're not playing fair.
Well, we're not playing at the table. I don't know that we're playing unfair.
Right.
We're just not at the negotiating table for those agreements now.
Who are they gonna sell it to? Each other?
So let's talk about Asia. What's the fastest growing part of the world?
China.
Asia.
Asia.
And not just China.
Right.
Greater Asia.
Right.
How much GDP are they going to have versus the US in 20, 30 years? That whole region? They are by far going to be the biggest trading region in the world. We need to understand where this world is going and leverage what we have in order to support the system that's out there and not go home with our marbles. It will not be a benefit in the long run. That's my view. So we need to be part of that trading system in Asia. Doesn't mean that any country in Asia is going to be more powerful than we are, even China.
Right.
China is very powerful, very big.
Oh, they are.
But we dwarf their military still.
Right.
But we want to preserve that, free trade in that region for us and for them. It can become a region dominated by China if we don't establish a set of rules that we want to govern that region.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I think our influence is being threatened by the stance of Trump. So, let's take NAFTA. Do you think it would be good if NAFTA were thrown out?
I think some of it should be rewritten, maybe. You know, I'm not up to current events, but I know
They're now in the third round. I believe it's the third round. It's just started. It just started again. The second round was concluded, and Canada and Mexico are ready to bang it because we're making demands that they're not going to agree to.
Is it tax demands? We're making more.
Some of it has to do with the local content, the content of cars that can be must be locally manufactured or etc. The problem with that is the car manufacturers want to have the freedom to control their supply chains.
Right.
They need to stay competitive. If our car makers aren't competitive, we'll have more foreign cars in the U.S.
Right. Right.
And NAFTA is one way that they use to stay competitive. They do some manufacturing in Mexico,
Sure.
a lot in the U.S., and they become competitive through that.
I'm not opposed to having plants down there. The country needs cheap labor.
Right.
To an extent.
Yeah.
For agricultural.
Mm-hmm.
You try to get some help to pick, say you have 100 acres of apples. Who are you going to get?
Do you grow fruit?
No.
Okay.
I used to raise.
But you've heard from the fruit farmer.
It's hard to get, I mean, the border wall is, they're still going to get through, We're paying big money. But then I heard stories where they're paying so much more down in Mexico for general labor, some of these guys ain't even coming back. Mm-hmm. Because they got a guaranteed job.
Mexico's doing well economically. Mexico is growing very quickly. That's a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing for the U.S. that Mexico is growing. It is not a bad thing that other countries grow and are prosperous necessarily,
But how are we going to produce cheap food? And it's not cheap. I talked to a buddy of mine, and they had one Mexican, and they were paying him $15 an hour just to take care of their grapes.
Yeah.
Well, he said, I need $18 an hour. And they said, we're done.
Right.
We're getting out of the grape business anyways. Today's your last day.
So you couldn't have voted for her, it sounds like, no matter who was voting against her. Who was running against her?
I would have had a hard time.
Yeah.
I would have had to really think on supporting her. Their whole crew, or whatever you want to call them, just seemed, she couldn't come up with all of her emails. I mean, I can come up with my paperwork.
Right.
What bothered me with Obama was he couldn't produce a birth certificate. I can have mine in 5 minutes in my safe, and I'm not an important.
So that's a good point, the birth certificate thing. So you thought there was something to that, or?
Why won't you show it? You'd show me yours, wouldn't you?
If I were president and someone said to me, "You haven't been born here," and with Trump, and the whole birther thing, I guess my reaction to it from the very start was, this is a stunt pulled by Donald Trump.
Sure.
It's a lie from the very start.
But it was started before Trump.
But Trump was the guy who was behind it.
He pushed it.
He pushed it.
Yeah.
And he didn't even after Obama produced his birth certificate, he didn't stop. Would you agree there?
Right.
He never said that Obama was, I'm wrong, here's the birth certificate. He kept it up.
Yeah,
I agree
with that.
And
he kept pushing
doesn't
it.
that go beyond
political,
Something-
even personal norms? Did that bother you?
Something just wasn't right with the whole scenario.
Which whole scenario?
The birth certificate.
You mean that you don't think Obama, you think Obama's you still have a doubt about Obama being born?
I have doubts on it.
Okay.
It just didn't make sense. I mean, I can produce mine. He's a public figure. He should be able to, here it is within 10 minutes.
Okay, but then eventually he did produce it.
Why did it take so long?
So you think it was manufactured maybe, or?
I don't know. I got doubts on the whole thing.
Okay.
It just
all right.
doesn't make sense.
Okay,
So once you doubt something,
all right, okay.
it just didn't make sense. I'm not college educated or nothing, but
Yeah, no.
there was a
that's
lack
okay.
of trust. There was a lack of trust there.
So you had a lack of trust there. You
Yeah.
thought maybe that's possible.
Yeah, something just isn't right.
Okay, right,
Yeah, that's,
yeah. I always thought it was a stunt. I mean, that was my view.
that Trump was just pushing it.
Yeah, I thought I think he's a liar. He lies a lot. I mean, whether you think that it's good for the country or not good for the country, he's lies in a way that is unprecedented and is a threat to our democracy. So, that's kind of a little bit of where I come from on that lying part of things. I'm not disagreeing he's a businessman. He's not I made everything type of businessman. He's a little bit of a
Shyster.
shyster, and that cleverness is interesting, but
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
think it's good for us. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't know.
I don't know
Yeah.
either.
Yeah,
The plot's in play. We'll figure out how it goes.
we will see how it goes,
Yeah.
won't we?
We will. Like it
all
or
right.
not. That's,
Got a little bit more here, and I know that you had a busy day. So, what about the press? Do you think that there's something to this idea of false media and, Trump?
some of them just are scrutinizing too much. Leave it go a little bit. I mean, questions are good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you wear brown shoes?
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Right.
is there something really to it?
Yeah.
Has Trump really done anything that bad?
Yeah.
I mean, he had a locker room talk,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But back to the locker room talk for just a minute. Then we start to get to the subject of religion and politics. And,
Sure.
I think a lot of the folks who are religious and their views on politics are formed because of that, sort of excuse a lot of that locker room talk when they wouldn't from somebody else or from Bill Clinton or, it's a little bit of, I don't know, I see a little bit of hypocrisy there, but...
Well, Clinton did a little more than locker room talk.
Yeah, right.
And it's been proven, sort of.
Yeah.
And they haven't.
I think Trump has done a little bit more than locker room talk too, but it's hard to say. It's not proven.
It's not proven.
Yeah.
I mean,
Although there are a lot of people who've come forth, but anyway.
well,
I tend to concentrate it more on the policies and the politics, but I do think his personality is, there's a destructive part of his personality that divides us all. And that division, he doesn't have to do it. I mean, that's the thing that bothers me is, why be so divisive? Why not turn on the charm just a little bit,
Oh, I agree with that. He could be a whole different person,
Yeah.
but he wants it his way.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's how he is.
Yeah.
But I agree with Archie Bunker on the old politicians. They don't give a shit about you, really.
Okay.
I seen that on TV the other night. I was thinking, yep, that's a true statement.
Say that again. I love it. I want to get that. I want to get your
I
face
think
right.
the quote from Archie Bunker was,
Yeah.
Edith, the politicians don't give a shit about you.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a direct quote, I believe.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
But, yeah,
From either side.
from either side. Neither one.
Okay.
They'll walk through a parade, they'll shake your hand,
Mm-hmm.
and that's as good as it gets.
Mm-hmm. Immigration. What do you think about, the whole immigration talk?
I think if you came here legally
Yeah,
and you did your paperwork,
yeah,
I don't know how hard it is,
yeah,
but you should be good unless you
Right.
commit some major felony or,
yeah.
that's.
What about the Dreamers? That group that came in, their parents brought them in a long time ago. They're born, they sort of grew up here. Should we? Probably they're illegal. They're illegal. We know they're illegal because they were brought here illegally.
There was a doctor up in Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo, they just arrested him. Well, why didn't he fill out his paperwork to become a citizen?
Right.
That's my own, why didn't you take your time?
Yeah.
I don't know how hard it is,
Yeah.
but my grandparents came from Russia and Germany,
Right.
and they came, they learned the language, they did what they had to do. They
Yeah.
became citizens.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how the country grew.
Yeah. Yeah.
My niece is a border guard,
Mm-hmm.
and she was down in El Paso, and she said it wasn't the Mexicans they were worried about.
Mm-hmm.
It was the true terrorists that were sneaking in.
Terrorists.
Terrorists.
Um,
She said there was more stuff coming across the border than the Mexicans.
She talking about gang members or terrorists?
Terrorists.
Like from Saudi Arabia?
Russia, Saudi Arabia. She said, why would a Russian sneak in?
Well, yeah. Well, because
Why would somebody from Iraq or Iran sneak in?
Well, yeah. Okay.
They can't enter, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So where are these terrorists from?
Other countries in Mexico. She
Other
didn't really
countries in
elaborate.
Mexico. Okay.
Yeah,
But that was a concern she had.
that was a concern she had.
Okay.
Yeah, she said the drug cartels were coming through, they were doing their best.
Okay.
But if we want to have a need for drugs, they went,
Right.
what's wrong with the American people? We need drugs.
Right.
You have tobacco, you have alcohol, you can
Yeah.
raise pot.
Right.
Do you really need this other stuff?
Yeah.
That's
Somebody
My
does.
thought.
Somebody does.
somebody that they really need it.
Yeah.
And now we have opium. Where's opium coming from?
I think that's more domestic. That comes from doctors. From
Yeah,
what I've
where-
read. Yeah, it just comes
Well,
from
you get
prescriptions.
hooked on it, and then you're.
Yeah. That's terrible.
Oh, it is.
Sounds
Yeah.
terrible, and I guess I haven't heard much about it here. Hopefully, it's not a big problem here. I don't
I
know.
think in Indiana it is.
Okay. Yeah.
That a friend of mine's boyfriend died. They cut it with fentanyl. That one just went out.
Holy cow.
And
Okay.
that was a year ago.
Okay.
And he had major back pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand it, why you take drugs for pain, because we're all getting older, but
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't make sense.
Mm.
What's wrong with people?
Yeah. What's wrong with people? So, so do you feel like we've been polluted, by the immigrants, or, you know what I mean? I think for a lot of people, it's sort of, we've had them streaming in, they're murderers, they're rapists.
Some are, probably
Right.
a small percentage.
Right. But
If you're just coming to make a better life, do your paperwork, come on in.
okay, yeah.
That's,
Mm-hmm. So for you, it's not the hot button issue that it is for some people.
No, some people are,
They're really concerned about it.
yeah.
But good to get control of the border is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
What do you think of the wall?
Build it, it'll supply jobs for so many people. Build it, if it makes you happy, build it.
Yeah.
But they're gonna tunnel under it, crawl over it, whatever.
Okay.
You're not gonna stop them,
Yeah. Right.
It'll slow them up.
Right. So what I'm hearing, you say is you really believe in a lot of what you see as sort of common sense. You would be open to middle of the road type views. You like Donald Trump because he's a businessman.
Yeah,
You just
pretty
think
much.
that, you know, he can jumpstart our economy, basically.
We're hoping.
Yeah, we're hoping.
We're hoping.
Right. But although, as we talked about the tax bill, that's based on trickle down, and hopefully that does the job.
Maybe.
Maybe.
You gotta pray.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there is no right answer.
By the way, the economy's doing really well. But it's been doing well for quite a while.
Right.
It's just we've just gotten to full employment.
Right.
That started during the Obama years. You can argue that, you know.
Maybe it did, maybe it didn't.
Well, it did.
Yeah.
I mean, we were at 10% unemployment. We went down to 5.5% under Obama, maybe lower, and then Trump took over, and it just kept going.
Right. It's keep
same
it going.
trajectory.
That's the key. It keeps it going.
It keeps it going.
It keeps
right.
it going.
Right. And the stock market stuff. I'm quite happy about it, but I don't know that it benefits a whole lot of people. You know, stock market.
Well,
Yeah.
the investment money's there. They can, it's going to grow something.
Right. Right.
You know, I believe, I know a lot of people that have money in stocks and they're gonna,
Mhm.
you're gonna
Yeah.
spend it on something.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you come out and buy a day at Nimby Pond,
Uh-huh.
you're spending money.
So how has Trump done? From last question, how has Trump done so far? What do you think?
He's okay. He's trying, he's fighting his own. The thing I like about Trump is he's not really a Republican. He's not a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Trump,
Mm-hmm.
to put it simple, and he's stirring the pot.
You like the pot being stirred?
I think so.
Uh-huh.
I think that brings out everything. You know what
Right.
people are doing.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, that's my thoughts on that. I
Okay.
think if they can, you're not gonna bring back public lynchings or nothing because
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's good to see how the Republicans are reacting and the Democrats.
Right.
It's
Okay.
it's stirring it up.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your talking to me. I will edit. I will create an edit for you and for you to look at and review.
Sure.
And
That'd be fun.
yeah, thank you so much
No problem.
for interviewing.
Yeah.
And it will go on this blog, Support the Center, after you approve it.